Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I am glad you made it. The November 1st deadline has now arrived. And this is crucial with regard to the government shutdown and collateral damage, if you will. Wanted to jump into it. Before I do, though, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I truly appreciate it. Every thumbs up, every minute watched really does help the channel expand its reach. And now, look, with the majority of the things out there, there's a lot of it that might not directly apply or impact you, but it does impact somebody to our left or right, and we need to be working together as the veteran sphere and really make sure that we're taking care of each other, right? And taking care of each other is, in this case, simply watching the video for a little bit, for example. It helps to push it to more people. It shows awareness, that type of stuff. On congressional things, reaching out to your legislators for things that are right are a good thing to do, such as, in my opinion, the Major Richard Starr Act. Even though it doesn't impact me, I think it's the right thing to do. In any case, let's jump back into this. I do appreciate your support. So the government shutdown effects bear down on millions more people after a crucial November 1st deadline passes. Here we are. All right, so let's jump into it here. I found this actually on NBCnews.com by an Alexandra Marquez, November 1st, 2025, and sharing it with you here today. All right, so it says, as the federal government shutdown passes the 1 month mark, a new round of impacts, and I had talked about this before. It's one thing to have a short-term shutdown. The longer they last, the more impactful they become. So let's jump into this. So a new round of impacts will soon hit millions of Americans on Saturday. That is today, Saturday, November 1st, 2025. A chief concern for lawmakers on both sides of the aisle in recent weeks was the impending lapse of funding for SNAP benefits. Now, this is obviously known as food stamps. And guess what? Veterans aren't prone to receiving food stamps. There's plenty of veterans out there that do receive this, and this is why I'm talking about it. We can't pretend that everybody lives in this one spot. We are sprinkled all throughout the economic lattice, if you will, and we need to make sure that we're taking care of each other at the end of the day. All right. So anyway, moving on. For which millions of people were set to lose benefits on Saturday. That's again today. Over 40 million Americans rely on SNAP benefits to purchase food, leading to concerns from elected officials that millions could go hungry. Governors and other state leaders from dozens of states across the country have said they will free up in emergency funds in their states to temporarily assist families that usually rely on their SNAP benefits to purchase food. So, if you are in this boat, you should be reaching out to your local government for sure, and state government. Oftentimes, the state government filters it down into the counties, and you go from there. I do want to pull up real quick and see if I can find some numbers here. All right, I am back, and I pulled it up. So, approximately 1.2 million veterans currently rely on SNAP benefits. This represents about 8% of the total U.S. veteran population. Let that sink in for a minute. That's huge. 1.2 million veterans. And I will tell you, back when I was an accredited veteran service officer running a team, we worked side by side, if you will, with the different various benefit agencies. And when a person was applying for some sort of welfare type of benefit, the question was asked if they were a veteran. If they were a veteran, then my office, got a form, and we were able to reach out to that veteran and get them in and see if they could qualify for other VA benefits. Obviously, the first one off the top of everybody's head and the most advantageous would be disability compensation, but then also VA pension and so forth. So anyway, 1.2 million veterans currently rely on SNAP. So don't think this isn't impacting veterans. All right, moving on. A coalition of municipalities, nonprofit groups, and businesses and union organizations sued earlier this week, requesting that a federal judge in Rhode Island force the Trump administration to use contingency funds in the U.S. Department of Agriculture to pay out SNAP benefits. On Friday, U.S. District Judge John McConnell did just that, ordering the USDA to distribute money from a contingency fund as soon as possible, in time for November 1st SNAP payment to be made. Despite the ruling issued from the bench just hours before the November 1st deadline, SNAP benefits are likely to be delayed. McConnell asked the Trump administration for an update on Monday on its efforts to pay out SNAP benefits. President Donald Trump said later Friday that he directed lawyers for the administration to seek clarity, but that even if we get immediate guidance, it will unfortunately be delayed while states get the money out. So we're looking at a delay for sure. Another program that will be forced to shutter in states across the country is Head Start. If I remember right, this is the 1 through 5 year old program that's implemented throughout the nation in many different states and counties. It provides free learning programs, health screenings, and meals to young children from low-income families. Over 130 Head Start programs that serve almost 59,000 children around the nation did not receive their federal funding on Saturday, and will close their doors if they cannot find alternative funding for the duration of the shutdown. Senate lawmakers left town early this week after failing again to negotiate a path out of the shutdown. While most Senate Republicans and some Democrats have repeatedly voted on a stopgap funding measure that would fund the government through November 21st and has already passed in the House, the measure has failed so far to reach the 60-vote threshold for passage. Senate Democrat leaders say they won't vote alongside GOP lawmakers to reopen the government without some kind of deal to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies, which expire at the end of the year. So this part actually drives me a little bit nuts, because if you look at that, and look, I'm not playing sides. This is just what it is. Senate Democrat leaders say they won't vote without a deal to extend affordable care subsidies, which expire at the end of the year. Okay, so granted, it's not very far away, but you got 2 months. However, there is a stopgap funding measure that would go through the 21st of November. That's not the end of the year. That's just to November 21st. And if that stopgap measure was put into place, well, guess what? The 59,000 children would still have Head Start, and the 1.2 million and other millions of people that rely on SNAP, but since I'm a veteran channel, right? So SNAP, right, wouldn't be impacted. But because we want to wait for a deal for something that's going to happen after this stopgap measure would have expired anyway, is just foolish to me. So now you're playing with millions of people's lives. You're playing with 59,000 children, and not to mention all of the children of the people receiving SNAP, because you don't want to do a stopgap bill that takes us to the 21st. It seems asinine to me. But who am I? I'm not a political figure out there trying to get elected or keep my whatever I'm keeping in line with whatever. All right, so Senate Democrat leaders again say that they won't vote along GOP lawmakers to reopen the government without some kind of a deal to extend that Affordable Care Act subsidies, which expire at the end of the year. On Saturday, open enrollment for health insurance plans under the ACA, which cover more than 24 million Americans, began revealing to customers how much their premiums could spike next year without an extension of the subsidies. One analysis by Kaiser Family Foundation found that insurers are raising premiums by an average of 17% or 30%, depending on whether the states they're in are using the federal marketplace or individual state marketplaces. Those price hikes, combined with the expiration of enhanced subsidies, could lead to premiums jumping by 114% on average for Americans using the ACA, and could lead to millions of people going uninsured over the next 8 years. Americans traveling by air this weekend could experience delays in transit due to staffing shortages at airports after air traffic controllers and Transportation Security Administration workers received their first $0 paycheck earlier this week. Pressure on lawmakers over airport staffing shortages helped end the 2019 government shutdown. If congressional lawmakers don't find a way to reopen the government by Wednesday, the 36th day of this government shutdown closure here, the ongoing shutdown will set a record for being the longest government shutdown in history. It would surpass the shutdown that began on December 22nd, 2018 during Trump's first term and lasted 35 days. With that, thanks for watching. I appreciate you very much. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.